things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts. But they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts. So I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. We're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening, Watchmen and Watchwomen of Patreon and YouTube once again. Yes, I decided to go back on YouTube again tonight, and the reason being is because I'm telling you, the headlines that I have been seeing since we've last spoke are not very good. I am starting to see and I constantly talk about a posturing, and the posturing that I am seeing is substantial. And it even, hang on just a second, I like to be able to hear just a little bit in the speakers, so I know that I'm modulating okay, but at the same time, I don't like it to be too loud so you guys hear an echo. So anyway, yeah, a lot of posturing, and I almost hate to use that word because I do talk about that, and I need a word that is, a little more escalated than posturing. But anyway, I normally start out my nights talking about any updates or anything like that we've got going on. So, not any real big super updates. Both grow tents are going very well. You on YouTube, you've seen the small grow tent. The tomatoes are doing absolutely incredible. So I'm just waiting for them to start going crazy ripening, so I can start enjoying some. So I'm looking forward to that. I have a feeling in the coming week I'm gonna start to see a bunch of them start ripening. I've started to see a few of them get a little bit of a reddish tint to them, so they're about there. But anyway, that project's doing well. Still waiting to get a couple of more things before I can get started on the Coleman stove project. So I am going to go ahead and prime it because I do want to try to sand it a little smooth and try to smooth up some of the rust pitting a little bit. So that considered, I have to get primer. I've got the black paint, but I still need to get the clear coat, and I've got the wire brushes and stuff, so I'm getting there. It won't be long, and I'll be able to get that project started, so looking real forward to that project. Let's see. And the reason being why I'm looking forward to that project is because I want you guys to see just all the different stuff that I do with it, and I want you to get a good idea on how to do those things. That's the whole point of doing a project, is for you to see the different things that I have to do within the project, and maybe you'll learn a thing or two. So other than that, been a typical weekend, just been keeping a close eye on the news and trying to decipher it, which is pretty exhausting. I want to start out with saying the same thing that I said last Thursday, and because I really need to ingrain this into folks' minds. Remember, as we watch things unfold on a global scale, that there's a little portion of that good book that says wars and rumors of wars, and I do believe that we are entering a time period in which that describes. Howdy, Mike. I do believe firmly we're entering a time period that fully describes. I'm not very trusting of anything that I am seeing right now, because I've seen too many things that are the different countries are working in unison on. And I have a hard time believing that these countries aren't working together on a lot of this stuff. For one, the passports, the vaccine passports, or whatever name you want to put on them. It would seem that even though all the countries are still trying to tell the citizens that, it's not going to be a mandatory thing. Some countries are saying that, it's just going to be to attend certain places or certain events. The travel industry is partly spearheading this. Corporations like Microsoft, Google, so I look at this, and first off, if a free nation was truly a free nation and believed in being a free nation, they would be speaking up and saying, look, you've got the freedom to design whatever you want, but it's not coming here. But none of them's doing that. In fact, many of the countries are staying pretty quiet about it. Some of them are talking about it, but many of them are staying quiet about it. Here in the United States, there's not really a whole lot of talk. There's not. And so I consider that concerning myself. When we have politicians, I really can't use the word leaders because we don't have leaders. When you have politicians that are mum about something that a good part of the world is talking about, then it becomes really interesting really quick. I would keep a close eye on that. I think that topic is going to rear its ugly head. But as I've seen in the United States, they like to spring things on us. So if it's something that they know won't go over very well, it's kind of like one of those deals where they pass it in the middle of the night kind of thing. And next thing you know, boom, it's on us. So we pretty well can ascertain, if you will, that the travel industry are going to be implementing these vaccine passports or whatever you want to call them. And, I think you're going to see a lot of places follow suit pretty quick. I know I've read some content talking about Walmart and them discussing something to do with it. Who knows? I do find this very troubling. And while that may be one of the things on the forefront, that is, of many people's minds, it's not so much mine at the moment. I'm sure you've all seen at least 100 memes, if not more, of Biden falling, walking up the steps to Air Force One. And I know I've seen my share, and there are a lot of funny ones, to be quite honest. But what concerns me is how weak the United States is appearing right now to other nations. Now, understand this. We went to we went from and to a polar opposite. We went from a very, very hardline president that pissed a lot of countries off with his hardline stance. Now, keeping in mind, remember, like I said, wars and rumors of wars. You've also heard things like the world is a stage, and it is. But let's just go with what we see, what's on the surface. We had a hardline president, pissed off a lot of countries with his policies. Then step in a president that can't even seem to answer questions at a press conference or a briefing or anything. He just doesn't answer questions. Now, I'm subscribed to the White House, on YouTube. Don't look down on me for it. No, I do news, so of course I'm subscribed to the White House on YouTube. And, I see he does like something once a week. I think it's some kind of a talk, a discussion. I don't listen to him. I just see him posted. And it'd be like a discussion or a talk with somebody, and it'd be like 2 minutes long. Like 2 minutes long. How in the hell do you have a 2-minute talk with somebody and get down to the bottom of anything? And again, I haven't listened to these, and I'm sure it's just a snippet from the conversation, but nonetheless, I would think that if you really wanted to show the public that you were really interested in what they had to say or the problems that are concerning them, that it would be a little bit more than a 2-minute snippet. And I'm seeing that all the time. That's all I see is that just like 2-minute snippet once a week, and that's it. The Jen Psaki, she doesn't really do worth a damn at answering anything herself. And it's I've never seen a government that is as unreachable as what ours is. I mean, almost doesn't even exist, it would seem. All of this stuff, is showing other nations in the world that we have become a weakened country. Now, I know I also read, and I think it's in the headlines, that China's got like over 200 ships. I want to say it was like 250 or something ships floating around, I believe, in the South China Sea area. And they are building new ships and building their military like you wouldn't believe. And I've spoke about this before, about how different nations in the world are building their militaries as quickly as they can. And there's a number of them. Germany, Poland, Russia, China. I mean, there's a ton of them that is just building their militaries as quickly as they can. I don't think it's for nothing. I do not think it's for nothing. And just reading the interactions in between the nations, just reading the news, it's very concerning. Now, I was a teenager while the Cold War was still going on, and I do remember the 80s. I do remember, late 80s, early 90s fairly well. And I remember the tension because it was concerning to me. It may sound silly, but I was very, very concerned at that age. I was very concerned of nuclear conflict. And it wasn't from brainwashing or anything like that, because I do know that was the propaganda at the time. But I kept an eye on things. For some reason, even as a teenager, I was in tune to some level of what was going on in the world. And I was concerned. But I had never even remotely seen anything that comes close to where we are today. Now, mind you, I am aware of different events that have happened in history in which war was literally right there. And I mean, there's even been instances, to my knowledge, to where buttons were pushed and for whatever reason, missiles didn't launch. So I am aware of those times. You've got the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've got, a number of times to where it was very, very close. But as far as an overall tone, I think this is the worst. I think this is the worst that it's been that I am aware of. And I have a feeling that we may be there. And that's kind of the biggest reason why I wanted to go public on YouTube again, because I want to emphasize, I want people to understand that this is serious. And I urge folks to refrain, to hesitate from going out and buying the coolest new things with their stimulus if they hadn't already. Put that money into preps. And if you don't have a fair amount of food storage, then please put it into food storage. I'm telling you, this is not going to be good. And I look at all the different ways that things could kick off and all the different outcomes. And they all say the same thing. No matter what, you're going to need food. You're going to need food. And I'm telling you, I would, if I was somebody especially new to prepping, I would be using that stimulus for food. I know it's not as sexy as a new firearm or, whatever. I mean, there's a ton of things that people like to run out and get because it's cool, it's sexy. If you're new to prepping, refrain from that, because you may be donning that cool plate carrier and might have that really kick-ass AR-15, but be starving your ass off. Don't put yourself in that situation. Okay? I'm going to tell you this plain out. Any weapon is a damn fine weapon to get a better weapon. Okay? You don't have to go out and buy the most expensive weapon. You don't have to, you don't. Because I think there's a common misconception that, let's say, SHTF kicked off today, right now. There's a common misconception that that's it. You won't ever be able to get a gun. And I'm telling you, guns and ammo, they're going to be pretty fluid in the beginning. They are. Because there's going to be, and I'm just going to be blunt about this, there's going to be plenty of bodies to get them from. It's not something that's going to be as hard to get as what people think. Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. Now, as time goes on and things progress, they'll be a little bit harder, and the ammunition will be way harder to come by. But in the beginning, nah, it's not. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you a big reason why the ammo won't be, okay? The firearms are given, like I said, and it may sound bad, but literally you can pick them off off the ground. I mean, it's that easy. However, somebody's not going to be carrying around 3,000 rounds of ammunition on their back. Or at least I would hope they weren't were smart enough not to. However, you've got a lot of people out there that are gun owners. You've got a lot of people out there that are pretty fanatical about them firearms, which is fine. However, they don't have food stores. Okay? So there's going to be plenty of room to trade. Plenty of room to trade. You want to make sure that you're in a position to be able to do that. And if you're new to prepping, that might be a little bit hard. It's going to come down to your skill sets. But, I mean, what I'm getting at is if you haven't been at this for a while and have put back stuff to barter, then you're going to have to rely on something else to be able to trade for that ammo. Skill sets is a good thing. So if you know how to fix things, it's probably a good idea to brush up on any skills you might have that would be useful after SHTF. Something like TV repair, probably not so useful. Although I say that, and I say that jokingly, because doing that type of work, electronics repair, good chance it will be useful, okay? But TV repair itself, probably not so much. We all have things that we can do. We all have things that we can do, and all have things that we can offer. So I would highly recommend that folks do some self-reflecting and think about those things, maybe get whatever, and I'm just going to say tools of the trade that you may need. If you're a good teacher, for instance, well, make sure that you get supplies for teaching so that you can continue to do that type of work after the balloon goes up. That's going to be important. That is going to be important. Maybe not the day after it hits the fan, but not far down the road. It's going to be important. And it's going to be important for many reasons, okay? Education's only one of them. The actual gaining of knowledge by young people is only one of the important parts of that. Another one of the big important parts, and maybe even more important, is the structure, okay, the normalcy. Because children are going to be pretty distraught. All this that's been going on with being out of school, or, if their school has changed, it's been very stressful on children. And it's already been rough enough for them. And having more of an SHTF than they are already experiencing, yeah, that is going to really, it's really going to mess with them. And so, in a post-SHTF situation, you're not going to have federal, state, or local governments keeping the schools closed, so to speak. So I would highly recommend, once things were safe to do so, to immediately get some type of a learning system going and getting those children involved in that. It gives them something to do. It gives them structure. You know, again, learning's important, but not necessarily the most important thing about teaching, okay? Not during a post-SHTF situation. That structure, that normalcy, that's going to be huge for the psyche, okay? And sometimes, you know, the psyche is more important than the knowledge. So, I mean, in reality, you're probably not going to learn a whole lot if your mind is just completely scattered. But work on those things. I'm telling you, I think it's close. I think it's imminent. Again, I don't know what's going to kick off first. I don't know how it's going to kick off. There's so many possibilities. It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. We're looking at anything from cyber war to actual missiles being launched. And we also can consider other things too, you know, biological attacks. I still do question this virus heavily. And, you know, I am really concerned about the vaccine. And I'm going to be just real honest about it. The vaccine itself concerns me on some level. But what concerns me, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words so much. I promise I'm not drinking anything other than coffee. I think what concerns me more than the vaccine itself is what could be done to the people that take the vaccine. In other words, you know, when that modifies the RNA, that whole spike protein, man, those individuals could actually be specifically targeted. And if they took on a virus that targeted that spike protein, they wouldn't have a chance. And so that's kind of one of the things that I look at. And I don't know, like I say, exactly what's coming down the road, but there are so many things with so much tension going on right now. I guarantee you something's about to break. North Korea, while they haven't been actually doing anything that I know of, I think they're about to start. Remember, when Trump first took office and shortly before, he started lobbing missiles everywhere. Okay, and then Trump took the helm, started a dialogue with him, and he knocked it off. I mean, they were doing underground nuclear tests. They were launching ballistic missiles left and right. And Trump had him settle down a little bit, actually a lot of bit. And that's one thing I really do give Trump credit for. And now, if you pay attention to what's going on, North Korea is about ready to start acting a fool again. And I think they're making that very apparent. That's in the headlines. That'll be in the headlines that we cover tonight. I think they're making it very apparent that they're about to start acting a fool again. You're aware of the stuff with China. Again, they're going to be in the headlines a lot. Russia's going to be in the headlines a lot. I am really starting to see some concerning things. Now, mind you, the United States and Russia and China, they're not the only ones, in North Korea, they're not the only countries on this planet. I think there's a lot of tension because of the notion that China is going to try to take back Taiwan. Now, I say the word notion. I firmly believe that that is their intent. We also have concerns of China in Africa. And see, that's not on the news a whole lot, but there's a lot of concern there as well. I want to say that Australia and China is kind of having issues right now as well. So there's a lot more tension, a lot more going on outside of the United States and their allies and, their enemies. There's a lot more going on. And any one of these things igniting, I fully believe is going to cause a global conflict. Now, there was and I don't know if I covered that or if I'll be covering it when I do the headlines, because I can't remember exactly what day it was. There was an Iranian ship in which there was an explosion on. And Iran has expressed the idea that they believe Israel was behind it. And they have also said there will be retaliation. Now, I know that there's a bunch of missiles get lobbed Israel's direction. But this ain't happening from Iran. I know it's not. The reason I say that is because the missiles that are being lobbed at Israel are wholly inaccurate and quite frankly crap. Most of them just land out in the middle of nowhere and do no harm. If Iran launches a volley of missiles, I guarantee you they're going to make contact. At least a portion of them are going to make contact. You're talking about a nation that has made these types of missiles their primary focus. Their primary focus. So while you've got other nations that are making, really kick-ass aircraft as a focus, you've got China right now that is really focusing on their naval capabilities. Okay? United States, we kind of try to spread things out a little bit, it would seem. But Russia has really been working on aircraft. They've been working on tanks. So you've got countries that put their focus into different areas when it comes to their military. And Iran has largely put their focus on medium-range missiles. And they've got some good ones. They truly got some good ones. So if they were to launch a volley of missiles at Iran, I have a feeling that they would do some damage. I also fully believe that it wouldn't be too many blinks of an eye before the United States was involved. So I see that starting a major conflict in a hurry. Don't know that that's how it's going to kick off. I don't know. I'm looking at this with as broad of a picture as I can. And I see so many areas of tension. It's really, truly hard to try to point at one in particular and say, yep, that's where it's going to kick off. Because I don't know. But I would say look at where the troops are. Would be a good thing to do. And I do know that China's got a whole hell of a lot of ships in the water. So I also know that we're starting drills back up again in Iran's backyard, so to speak. And I'm watching all this go on. And like I've said before, when it starts, it's going to go quick. That's why I'm trying to urge folks to get ready. Make sure you got your T's crossed, your I's dotted. Because when it does kick off, things are going to start happening so quickly. I don't think we're going to have any time whatsoever to get ready after that. You have to understand. Go back a year from now. You remember how hard it was to get toilet paper? That was toilet paper, not food. The food was pretty wiped out too, if you recall. And that was minor. That was minor. Our just-in-time system showed us just how much of a failure that it was. In fact, there are some products that are still a little iffy on getting. And we're a year later. So it's definitely something that folks need to be thinking about. I would recommend that folks take a real good look at what they do and don't have and start plugging up those holes. I wouldn't count on it being another toilet paper run. I don't get that. I just don't get that. I never did. It's a year later, and I still don't understand the whole toilet paper thing. But whatever. That was minor. It truly was. Anything like the grid going down. Could you imagine if a city was attacked, if a U.S. city was attacked? Could you imagine the response of the American people? It would be crazy. And that's if one city was attacked and then it stopped. That would be crazy. Imagine if multiple cities were hit. I know that in the prepping world that it's commonly said that, 72 hours. No. That's false. That's false. And in a major event, you will have a matter of hours to get what you need. A matter of hours. You are going to have chaos starting instantly. If multiple cities were hit, chaos would start that moment. Because people would understand, to some extent, how serious of a situation it was. The thing that they wouldn't understand is how having the reaction of trying to get everything they can right now is going to be so harmful in the long run. That's not how people think, unfortunately. Like I said, the chaos will start immediate. There's not going to be no 72 hours before people realize, maybe I should go to the store. No. It's not going to go down like that. Not going to be like another toilet paper shortage. It's concerning. And that's why I tell folks to get ready now. Because if you can ride out that period of time, I really do enjoy reading the books that I've read. And they're good books. I'm talking about books from, say, Angry American, Franklin Horton. They're good books. But they're not entirely accurate. And even in them books, there's a pretty long period of time that people have to be able to go get stuff. It's not going to happen that way. Not in today's society. Maybe in a society 20 years ago or so, but not in today's society. We live in a extremely self-serving, selfish society. And at the first hint of trouble, people are going to be wiping those stores out for everything they got. Again, what happened a year ago was minor. It was minor. There were still a lot of things that were kept up with. And the thing of it is when you deal with something a little more widespread, a little bit more hard-hitting, it's not going to be just a matter of the supplies, but there's going to be an unbelievable amount of violence. You're going to have people that, aren't coming to work because they're going to go take care of their families. Okay? And it's going to be a nightmare. It is going to be a true nightmare. What we dealt with a year ago was a very soft SHTF. Very soft. I don't think that even if one city got hit in an attack, and when I say one city, I'm not talking about a storefront gets bombed. I'm talking about the city gets leveled. I guarantee you, if that happens to just one American city, you have hours to get anything that you might get, and that is going to be a very dangerous adventure. So, my advice, once again, don't go out and buy the cool stuff if you still got that stimulus coming. Use it to get ready. Use it to get ready. Because even if you can buy yourself, even if the best you can do is to buy yourself a month, guess what? That's a month that you don't have to deal with all that craziness and violence. Things will calm down to some extent after a little bit. I always tell people 90 days. Make sure at very minimum you've got 90 days. At minimum. That's not ideal. That's minimum. Please understand that. That 90 days will allow for things to cool off just a little bit so that maybe you can at least have a conversation with other people. In the beginning, I would be a little hesitant to put myself out there. But if you can let things cool off a little bit and, maybe try to make contact on your terms, get a dialogue started, then you can get that community thing going. But you're not going to get that community thing going right after something happens. Not immediately after something happens, because people are going to be too freaked out. And it's not just about the freaked out people, but the people that aren't freaked out aren't going to stand much of a chance, right? Because of all the freaked out people. That's the thing. The problem is the odds. That's the problem. It's the odds. It's not about who you are. It's not about who I am. It's about who the unprepared people are. That's what we have to consider. It's not about us. It's about those that aren't like us. And we have to think it with their mindset, not our own. We all know how we would act to something, but that's not the point. The point is how they would act. Because that's what you have to deal with. You're not going to be dealing with a bunch of yous, you're going to be dealing with a bunch of them. That's a pretty damn scary thought. That's what I'm saying. Get as prepared as you can. We'll go ahead and start covering headlines because, as usual, there's quite many of them. I mean, it's been kind of nuts, really. And normally, like during this moment on Patreon, there's kind of almost like a moment of silence, kind of almost, where I have some coffee, take a few vapes, And then I talk to the dark side. That would be you, YouTube. Anyway, yes, I call you the dark side. Just in humor. Oh, man. Fun, fun, fun. Jen got her hair cut the other day. Do what? She said she lost 50 pounds. Do I get to show you a picture? See, she got her hairs cut. More than just one. We thought about just getting one cut, but we just figured we would go for the bulk rate and got them all cut. So that was a very well deserved haircut. It'd been a little while since she had the bushwhacker taken to it, so yeah. For some reason, she wasn't even in the system anymore. I don't know what the deal was there, but I don't know if they changed systems or what happened, but she was no longer in there. And it hadn't been a year, I don't think, right? I mean, probably pretty close. I would do it, but I don't trust our clippers for one right now because they sound pretty ratty when I buzz my hair. So my luck, I'd be halfway through and they would quit. And if it happens to me, well, I'll figure something out. But I'm not going to be in that position with her. And I don't know how to cut hair. What I know how to do is put the guide on and buzz my hair. In fact, I screwed my own up the last time. I thought I had a taper tool and for the ears, and I didn't. I had the number one because it's the same color as the taper tools, and I had the number one, and so I did one ear right, and then I grabbed the number one instead of the other taper tool, and did the other ear, and I'm like, that looks a little funny. So I had to go over my entire head with the number one guide because I'd done screwed it up. So I'm not good at it. In fact, even using the guides, I suck. So what I need is a Floby. That's what I need. I need a Floby. Oh, man. Yeah, I'd still screw up with a Floby. I would. Alrighty. Let's do some headlines. Alright. Starting with Friday, of course. U.S. accuses Beijing of sabotaging rules-based world order and decries protocol violation after Chinese hit back at Alaska talks. Now, you know, there was so much tension even before the talks, and then when we got there, it seemed like China did a lot of the talking, and it wasn't good. Man, I'm telling you, relations between the different nations are not doing well, and I know that it was a popular position that Biden was China's lapdog. And this does not seem to be the case in reality. And again, I want to put that layer over top of all of this, that all the world's a stage, and we had been warned about wars and rumors of wars. So I want to layer that on top of everything, because I think it's important. Something tells me that that's very important to look at right now. But at the same time, we'd be fools not to look at what's on the surface as well. Because, you know what? Maybe this isn't rumors of wars. You know? Maybe this isn't a stage. None of us really truly know. Either way, and this is the important part, whether it is rumors of wars, whether it is a stage, or whether it's true to what's on the surface, none of those are good. None of those are good. That is what's important to focus on, not the semantics. Semantics are one thing. What's important to focus on is where they're going to go with it either way. Because I'm telling you, even if this is, a part of the world's a stage, if this is a part of rumors of wars, you're not going to be exempted out of it. That's not going to make it any better for you and I. So we have to stay focused on the important parts of this and leave the semantics to the side. Chinese FM invites Russian counterpart Lavrov to Beijing after talks with U.S. as pressure from Washington propels closer ties. Not good. Not good. And I've seen this posturing for some time, to where Russia and China have been starting to work a little more closely with each other, and as well as countries like Russia and Iran and China and Iran, they've been working closer as well. So there's a definite posturing going on. There's other countries. Germany, I don't think is really in our pocket right now. I really don't think so. I do believe we still got a good ally with Poland, but Germany, not so much. Not so much. And there's other nations to where I think our relationship is very debatable. Countries that we used to be very, very strong allies with, not so much anymore. German government spent over $2 billion of taxpayers' money to pay pharmacies for overpriced face masks, says reports. And this is ridiculous. And you're going to see other headlines that deals with this situation. And it blows my mind. And Germany is one of the countries that have been just unbelievable with their lockdowns. Many of the nations over there have just been crazy with their lockdowns. In 13 years, number of Russians who consider their country to be European has dropped by almost half, as survey reveals. This is also important stuff to pay attention to. We aren't the only country on the block. There's a few of us. And, there's a lot of tensions just within Europe right now. A lot. Former Ukrainian President Kravchuk says country will be invaded by Russia as Moscow seeks to solve Crimea's water supply problem. That is kind of a pretty hefty headline there. Okay? There's a lot going on with that. Asia to account for 90% of global oil demand growth through 2025, says the IEA. Facebook wants to create safest possible version of Instagram for kids under 13. I don't know about you, but any time that these technocrats say anything like this, it actually concerns me. And in fact, the more and more I look, the more and more I find out that they actually do the opposite of what they say. So this is concerning to me, that they want to create something that just for kids, because I have a feeling it's not going to be just for kids. Let's think about the other things that they're pushing. Okay? Think about all the other things that they're pushing, whether it be directly or indirectly. Yeah, I think I would want the technocrats to stay away from our kids. Judge agrees to redact sensational and impure details about Ghislaine Maxwell from public docket. As tensions escalate over Killergate, Moscow snubs Biden at UN, only sends junior diplomat to virtual summit with U.S. president. Again, we're on Friday's news. Oil prices tumble as new COVID outbreak in Europe threatens fuel demand. COVID-19 certificates for arenas and theaters won't turn into vaccine passports, UK Culture Secretary says, but concerns remain. This was some of what I was talking about earlier. They're trying to say that it's only going to be for travel, or it's going to be for certain things. This is how they do it. They try to. This is common sense COVID control, right? This is how they do it. They just sneak in just a little bit, next thing you know, bam. So keep a close eye on this. I don't think any of us are going to have a choice in any of this. And I don't think that this is just going to be something that's isolated over to the EU or the UK, right? I do believe that it's fully going to be here as well. Remember, who at least appears to be at the helm, kind of, if he can make it there without stumbling. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization announces plan to cold test redesigned Iraq nuclear reactor. Western intelligence agencies directing Russian opposition to turn tide of opinion on Crimea, Moscow's Ministry of Defense claims. A good chance we'll have restriction-free summer if young people do their part, Hungary's PM Orban says. Yeah, young people, do your part. At least 8 dead as police open fire on protesters in Myanmar's Shan state. Absolutely crazy what's going on in Myanmar. China leads global growth in wind power capacity. With UK getting ready to pack suitcases for summer holidays in May, study says COVID soared in travel corridors. And by the way, speaking of all this COVID stuff, I'm kind of interested to see what happens because there, and it's going to be in the headlines too because of what went on down in Florida with spring break. Apparently, yeah, COVID didn't affect spring break as much, especially in the beginning. Now, there have been curfews that's been put in place. Some, a good part of the businesses are not allowed to open, I think, for certain times. They're going to close bridges down or have closed bridges down. So, yeah, they're doing everything they can to kind of squelch spring break. But there's already been, a fair period of time to where there's been a lot of close contact and a lot of activity down in Florida for spring break. I'm kind of interested to see what happens from there because, and I've been keeping an eye on this once in a while. I don't watch it at all like I used to, but we'll humor ourselves. If you look, the cases, both fatal and new, are down dramatically. And, with spring break, I have a feeling that we're going to continue to see these cases be down dramatically. Now, there was periods of times to where I was a little concerned, especially when we started hitting numbers like this, over 5,000 deaths. And again, they're numbers that we're given. I didn't tally these up myself, and I understand that. But nonetheless, we are on a massive downtrend on this, and it doesn't make sense to me if we're trending down so much like this. Then why all this push for vaccine passports and all of that? I don't get it. I don't understand why that's all necessary. Not only that, but for those that want it, what about the vaccine? I thought that was going to fix everything, right? Crazy. A Jack in the Box manager stabbed by homeless Texan after telling him to put on a coronavirus face mask, says police. COVID curbs aren't working, says German health minister, warning more restrictions needed as third wave grows. And I keep hearing about this third wave over in Germany, the EU, the UK, stuff like that. I keep hearing about this third wave over there, and I've got my ear open. I'm waiting to hear about it here because I figure they're going to be talking about it here real soon in the media, and I don't expect to really see the numbers change, but I do expect to hear them talking about it an awful lot and wanting to do this, that, and the other thing. In reaction to what we don't see the numbers change for. So, yeah. It's crazy. Crazy. Scientists warn vaccinations alone won't contain UK COVID infections as UK eases lockdowns, says a study. And this is what bothers me so much. The idea that that they want to do all this stuff But at the same time, they want to tell us, oh, well, yeah, but the vaccine's not going to stop you from spreading it. But, none of it makes sense. None of it makes any sense. Georgian nurse dies of allergic reaction after receiving AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine to Tbilisi to continue rollout of British jab. Chicken massacre. Stray tank destroyer shell strikes hen house during botched training exercise in Italy. Oops. U.S. insists Belarus must accept demand for dialogue with exiled protest leader and calls on allies to back opposition. And no, I didn't try to say her name because I can't, and I admit it. After Biden's killer comments about Putin, time to make a break in Russian-U.S. relations. Further engagement is pointless for now. That was a statement that was said, and that's not good. This is very reminiscent of Cold War talk. Okay, there is a period of time, and I may be a little off on this because I'm not a history expert, but if I'm not mistaken, there is a period of time to where the United States and Russia, they had a phone, the red phone. And that was their only way to communicate, right? And neither president of neither country really ever wanted to pick up that phone, But there was a phone that was established, a phone line that was established, a direct line of communication from one government to the other, just in case things escalated to a point or there was miscommunication or whatever. And we're almost at that point. We are almost at that point once again. I mean, that is how close we are. But I actually think that this time is worse. I think we are in a worse position right now than what we were then. I really, really do. A Romanian Nationalist Party sets up shop in Moldova to campaign for reunification of two countries after 30 years of independence. Judge rules university lecturer was unnecessarily aggressive, get this, by using too much punctuation in texts. So remember that. Don't be aggressive by using too much punctuation. ... European Commission takes Britain to EU Court of Justice over €100 million state aid dispute in Gibraltar. Let's see. Turkey detains pro-Kurdish party officials after launching legal effort to ban People's Democratic Party. Yuan going global. China tests its digital currency on e-commerce platforms. Sorry. Got a yawn trying to sneak out. And keep an eye on this stuff too, because I think that's another direction that the U.S. is going to head very quickly, is some type of digital currency. And the end of dollar as we know it, the dollar bills, physical currency, I think it's going to be a thing of the past pretty quick. Dropping off migrants with unchecked health and criminal history like opening Pandora's box, an Arizona border town mayor says to RT. Gestapo tactics. New York City Mayor de Blasio blasted after saying police should warn and threaten people over hurtful behavior. AstraZeneca off the hook. Autopsy conclusive. Death of Spanish teacher was not linked to COVID-19 vaccine. Not enough vaccine in Europe to stop COVID-19 third wave. Retreat into lockdown possible. German health minister warns. Russian opposition figures demand prosecution of Putin after concert held in Moscow allegedly breaks COVID-19 mass gathering rules. CDC changes school guidance, allowing desks to be closer. And I thought this was interesting, especially considering that it seems like they're kind of wanting to try to ramp up concerns about COVID again. The CDC is saying you can put their desk closer. I'm not arguing that or anything. I'm just saying, just seems a little odd. Candace Owen triggers Twitter by inviting Putin on show, says Biden dodged Kremlin request for debate over mental health issues. And I read this headline when I put it out, and I actually thought about that. And I'm going to be honest, I hope he takes her up on it. I think it would be awesome. I do. I think it would be awesome to hear an American, I don't know what you want, opinionist, or I don't know what you would call her actually, but I would be definitely interested in hearing that. I guarantee you would get more views or listens than anything Biden's done. By the way, if you look at that, I mean, it's absurd. Give me 2 seconds here, right? This is crazy. This is crazy. Let me show you something. Like I told you, I'm subscribed to the White House because, I do this kind of news thing, And if you go, you pick any video. By the way, I talked earlier about the weekly conversations that are a couple of minutes, and I'm not going to play it, but here's one, right? So here's a weekly conversation on the line with Jocelyn, and it's like 2.5 minutes. This is what I was talking about earlier. But if you look here, there's 351 likes and 3.1 thousand thumbs down, right? I mean, and you can pick any one of them. It's any one of them. This video here, 471 thumbs up, 1.8 thousand thumbs down. And it's any video. You can go right down the list.
Well, thank you.
Oh, well, this ain't Biden, so let's be fair. Here's one.
Folks, tomorrow we're going to
Biden, 456 likes, 1.7 thousand unlikes or thumbs down. Every single one. Now, I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't see anything that bad when it came to Trump, did we? I mean, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm not joking, although I am making humor of it when I say that. Yeah, that would get, if Putin spoke with Candace Owens, that would get more views and more likes than what our own president does. That's kind of crazy. French regulator recommends AstraZeneca COVID-19 jab for over 55s only as blood clot risk deemed higher in younger population. And it's crazy because they'll sit there and say, oh, well, there's really not that much of a blood clot risk, and then yet they're saying this. So you have to read between the lines. Judge denies request to delay Derek Chauvin trial in George Floyd case after defense argues city settlement prejudiced jury picks. Prime Minister John Castex receives COVID-19 vaccine live on air as France resumes rollout after blood clot fears. Still on Friday, by the way. Loyalists warn that EU's referral to accept Brexit deal changes threatens Northern Ireland peace agreement. Finland suspends AstraZeneca COVID-19 jab after two thromboembolic. I'm probably way off on that, but I tried, right? I get an E for effort. Events recorded in vaccine recipients. A Biden administration staffers asked to resign over past marijuana use despite campaign support for decriminalization, says reports. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Proud Boys members charged with conspiring or something like that to block Congress from certifying Biden victory during January 6th riot. Turkish leader Erdogan slams NATO ally Biden for calling Putin a killer and says U.S. president's remarks are truly unacceptable. Law is a mess. UK Parliament committee blasts government over failure to protect right to protest after Sarah Everard vigil outrage. By the way, backing up here a little bit, this isn't like when he was saying pretty hateful, disgusting things to American citizens, like what was it, a construction worker or something like that he just said something absolutely disgusting to. And, this isn't like that. When you're speaking to, leaders of other nations, Yeah, their media is probably not going to help cover it up for you. Just saying. WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and Instagram, well, they were down on Friday at some point. Biden falls 3 times as he climbs Air Force One stairs, sends critics and supporters into a frenzy. Of course, you know about that, I'm sure. If not, you need to lift up the rock a little bit more and get out from underneath of it. 2-year-old NKY boy overdoses, northern Kentucky, by the way, overdoses on sleeping mother's fentanyl, police say. Ridiculous. Chicken Joe trends on Twitter after Biden avoids debate with Putin following killer accusation. Taliban threatens with reaction if U.S. does not pull out troops by May deadline. I even forgot about this while I was talking to y'all. And this is from Friday, too. So, yeah, now the Taliban is threatening the United States. That's how bad the U.S. looks right now, right? That the Taliban is back to threatening us. So, I'm interested to see what happens here. I'm interested to see if we truly try to pull our troops out for one, and then if we don't, because I have kind of a feeling that we won't. I don't know. I firmly believe that they'll live up to their promise. I really do believe it. So we'll see what happens. I definitely do not see us getting out of the Middle East. That I don't see because, I mean, come on. Look at who's in charge now. And you might as well just put the military-industrial complex themselves in charge. It would just make it a more straight shot, you know? European leaders attempt to restore faith in AstraZeneca COVID vaccine by getting or promising to get jabs after blood clot fears. Not appropriate for media to see inside border facilities for migrant kids, Democratic representative says, defending Biden's lack of transparency. You know, there's a lot of things, and including in the headlines, there's a lot of things that my jaw has dropped open because if the same things would have been said by the Trump administration, oh my goodness. And I'm not taking a side. It's not my job to take a side. But I'm just looking at the just stark differences in, you know, the we'll say the outrage or lack of outrage over you know, different stances. And the crazy thing with this whole migrant thing at the border, they are blaming Trump. How does that even work? I mean, how does that even work? Trump had it somewhat controlled, you know, because he started going after these other countries that were letting the migrants travel up here and said, hey, no, don't do this. Don't let them up here, right? So, you know, Trump had did a pretty damn good job of turning that faucet off. And, you know, here Biden comes along, promises them all a free ride, come on up here, right? And then blames Trump when they're knocking on the door. It makes absolutely no sense. And I saw this again. It's not my job to take a side, and I'm not taking a side. I sat there and watched this go on. That's not taking a side. And it just blows my mind how they're turning around now and blaming Trump. Blows my mind. Iceland volcano, and I can't pronounce that, between capital and main airport erupts, triggering halt to air traffic. Ex-President Bush, the man who waged brutal, never-ending wars, claims Capitol riot left him disgusted. He left me pretty disgusted, to be honest. Researchers say AstraZeneca vaccine can cause thrombosis in brain in rare cases, as WHO said it is not certain about it. We're still on Friday's news, by the way. Just like pirates, Syrian minister says U.S. controls most crude reserves in Northeast, loots oil to strangle country's economy. And I've been saying this stuff for a long time, you know. I think it's coming to a head. I think these nations are getting tired of this. I really do think these nations are getting tired of this. A Texas governor shreds Biden, I'll get that right, for inhumane facilities for migrant kids opens probe into COVID outbreak and lack of drinking water. We're on yesterday's news now. We just started yesterday's news. And again, this is ridiculous. And they're blaming everything on Trump. All of it they're blaming on Trump. And it's like, oh my God, I've seen them blame this cage thing on Trump. What? It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm not a Trump fanboy. And folks that have been around here long enough know that I'm not. I don't pick a side with these politicians because I know better. And sitting here watching the back and forth, the finger pointing and all of that, to be honest, it almost seems like they're doing it just to keep, well, I know they're doing it partially to keep everybody at each other's throats, but I think they're also doing it to keep people confused. I really do. Bill Gates urges fans to eat synthetic meat and to save the planet and dismisses crazy conspiracies about vaccine and 5G in Reddit AMA. Tesla will get shut down if used for spying in any country, Musk says after reports of restrictions on vehicles in China. As Russia looks to modernize its tax code, influential Senator Pushkov proposes an introduction of fee on donations for live streamers. We're on Saturday, just reminding you. Vice President Harris calls out people with biggest pulpits spreading hate during Atlanta visit following spa parlors massacre. Why are we trying to spin and twist this so much with what happened? The dude came out and said why he did it. Now, I have concerns personally because of connections with Blackwater and these massage parlors. But aside from that, I don't see a Trump connection. I don't see any of that. I really don't. Tsunami warning temporarily, I think it's supposed to be temporarily issued in Japan as 7.2 magnitude quake hits off the northeast coast. Russia set for showdown with international law amid $57 billion Yukos oil empire battle and ruling over jailed opposition figure Navalny. A Boeing 737 cargo plane skids off runway into field during hard landing in Indonesia. Again, we're on Saturday's news, yesterday. Indian economy to grow by 12% in 2021 as private consumption and non-residential investments pick up, says Moody's. Brazilian state slaps Apple with $1.9 million fine for selling iPhones without power chargers. Pakistani leader Imran Khan quarantined at home after testing positive for COVID-19. Foreign fans to be barred from the Olympic Games for first time in history as governing bodies and Japanese government reach decision. And to be honest, if I was like the leader of a nation, I think that I would boycott the Olympics. I'm just saying, I think that I would boycott the Olympics. Because it's kind of ridiculous to put those kind of restraints. It really is. It really is truly ridiculous. Now, the fat lady hadn't sang yet, and I have a feeling that many countries are probably going to abstain from taking part in the Olympics. We shall see. If enough countries abstain from taking part in the Olympics, I think they'll cancel the Olympics. So we'll see. All this obviously is very fluid and still happening, but that's kind of what I see happening. I do see the Olympics being canceled, and I think largely it'll be because of lack of participation. Fulfill your contract. EU Commission chief threatens AstraZeneca with COVID vaccine export ban. UN raises global economic growth outlook on increased U.S. consumer spending. White House dismisses Biden's stumble as minor mishap in windy weather, but some jokingly blame Kremlin. Oh, I have no doubt that some people say it's Russia's fault. Blood clots and one death reported in Denmark after hospital staffers take AstraZeneca vaccine. Saudi Arabia boosted crude oil exports in January. China warns U.S. after rocky top-level talks. They said, don't underestimate our determination to defend sovereignty. So, again, these are important things to note. These are big statements. Stripping Catalan's MEPs of immunity from prosecution undermines EU's moral authority, the region's ex-leader says to RT. Dutch police shower anti-lockdown protesters with water cannons after crowd assembles near Van Gogh Museum. And there is a lot of civil disobedience happening in different countries around the world. Italy should ramp up efforts to localize manufacturing in Russia to catch up to rival Germany, National Business Lobby says. Still on Saturday. Biden is on his heels amid migrant surge at Mexico border. Fruitful investigation, huge bust of MDMA and ecstasy announced by French police turned out to be strawberry powder, reports say. Yeah, I laughed kind of hard when I seen that. German police clash with protesters at Kassel demonstration against COVID-19 restrictions. President Richard Grenell, ? Google accidentally lists former Trump administration figure as POTUS in fake news blunder. We need to think more freely. Bavarian PM mulls producing Sputnik 5 in Germany as Russian pharma announces investment plans. Hungarian foreign minister takes Russian Sputnik 5 jab on camera. New York Times used deceptive disinformation to smear Project Veritas, acted with reckless disregard and malice, a judge rules. That's a big win for Project Veritas. Parody video showing Trump knocking Biden down Air Force One stairs could lead to assassination attempt, MSNBC analyst says. This is how ridiculous it's gotten. I mean, do we really stand a chance? And I'm not laughing at us. I'm laughing at the situation. Do we really stand a chance when this is what our media is doing? Israelis gather for massive anti-Netanyahu protests days before election as PM faces corruption scandal. Ukrainian presidential office in Kiev vandalized by radicals protesting against sentence to neo-Nazi leader. Still on Saturday. Let me have a vape. Told you we've got a lot of headlines. Been doing headlines for about 40 minutes or so. Stop destroying our kids' lives. Clashes, arrests as thousands protest against COVID lockdown in London. Miami Beach imposes emergency curfew for entertainment district and closes bridges into city amid spring break chaos. I was telling you about that earlier. Monopoly is getting a long overdue socially conscious makeover, Hasbro says. So, yeah. It's almost not as bad as what it sounds, though. It's not quite as bad as, not being able to buy Aunt Jemima no more. Or Uncle Ben. Can you buy Uncle Ben's, or did that change too? I don't know. It might be Uncle Tom now. I don't know. But it's not as bad. They're just going to change up a little bit of, say, the community chest cards and stuff like that. Because some of the stuff just really isn't relevant today. Some of the stuff the cards say. So they're going to make it a little bit more relevant. It's not like they're, saying that they're going to make it, I don't know. It's not as bad, though. Migrant kids held in U.S. custody soar to 15,500 as journalists and rights advocates demand to see conditions inside border camps. World facing sorry, we are actually to today's news. Sorry. World facing unprecedented threat of food shortages, a UN agency warns. I would say I would listen to that. Not that I trust the UN a whole lot, but when they make statements like this, again, back to what I said earlier, we can argue semantics all day long. But whether it's real or not, they're telling you the direction that they're going to take you, and they have the power and the control to take us that direction, okay? That's what we have to understand. They have the power and control to make that real, whether it should really be an issue or not. So, but there's a lot of things that have happened around the planet that I can see where food shortages are definitely prevalent. I mean, I can see where they're coming. Fights break out at anti-lockdown protests in New York City. Saudi Aramco profits nearly cut in half as pandemic woes cripple oil markets. Protests in support of rapper jailed for glorifying terrorism and insulting monarchy continue in Spain. No laughing matter. UK Foreign Office contractor sought to recruit comedians and YouTubers to take part in secret Baltic PSYOPs camp. That is crazy. Fitch upgrades Russia's growth outlook, projecting economic activity surge. Father of trans teen to be kept in jail after speaking to press about resisting hormone injections for his child. This is up in Canada. Venezuela says natural gas plant explosion was a terrorist attack targeting sanctioned state-run energy company. UK can't be deaf and blind to COVID-19 surges abroad when considering easing travel restrictions, says the defense secretary. Naomi Wolf pranked into posting fake anti-vaccine quote with porn star photo. Sorry, thought it was funny. Let's see. Turkey expects tourism to surge by up to 70% amid global COVID-19 vaccination drive. Philippines accuses Beijing of militarizing South China Sea with provocative presence of 220 naval vessels. Earlier, I couldn't remember the actual number. I knew it was somewhere between 200 and 250, so 220. Yeah, that is a few ships. U.S. and allies launched joint naval war games in Iran's backyard. I told you about that earlier. India throws the oil tanker industry a lifeline. Germany's COVID-19 restrictions may be extended amid rising cases, government memo reportedly says. No Biden, no big deal. Putin grabs defense minister for all-terrain vehicle ride during Siberian getaway. So, while our president is stumbling up steps. Vaccine nationalism. We can be accused of vaccine internationalism, EU commissioner says amid row over deliveries. Making COVID-19 vaccines political was a huge mistake on Europe's part, Hungary's FM tells RT after getting Sputnik 5 jab. Let's see. Israeli court defends right of school to bar unvaccinated and untested staff. A mask bribery scandal spreads in Merkel's conservative bloc. Another German politician resigns, says reports. UK vet warns of strong suspicion of COVID-19 mutation transmission from humans to pets, creating heart issues. Do not come. The border is closed. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary warns migrants off. Blames overflow crisis on Trump. This is what I'm saying, and I don't get how they can blame it on Trump when Trump, like I say, he largely had that faucet turned off. But when Biden promised, come on up here, we'll let you right on in, they all came running, and then they blame it on Trump. It makes no sense. Iran's supreme leader says no credibility in U.S. promises, only full lifting of sanctions would work. Masks and distancing could be required for several more years, a British public health expert says. Trump will return to social media with own platform in 2 or 3 months, says an advisor. North Korean embassy staff leave Malaysia as countries sever diplomatic ties over U.S. extradition row. New York Times contributor declares whiteness a pandemic. The only way to stop it is to kill it. This stuff is going really, really far. It really, truly is. And what blows my mind is, and again, I'm not taking sides here. I'm standing back as an observer, and you've got the left that want to be all over anything that happens. Like take, for instance, the incident with the massage parlors in Georgia. You got the left all over that, talking hate and talking, trying to attach it to Trump or conservatives, right? But the left can make statements like this, and we're not supposed to bat an eye. It blows my mind. It's got victim mentality wrote all over it. And that is just one thing that gets under my skin. Mass stabbing at Detroit hookah lounge leaves 8 hospitalized. I didn't lose to him. Trump mocks Biden's Air Force One steps fall. Kill the bill. Protesters clash with cops in the UK in demonstration against draconian policing legislation. Israel seizes Palestinian foreign minister's travel permit after visit to International Criminal Court over war crimes probe. Biden's Pentagon chief makes surprise visit to Afghanistan as questions loom over Trump withdrawal deadline. Let's see. Already showered with awards and media adulation, Dr. Fauci scores a new honor, children's book proclaiming him America's doctor. UK royal family mulls appointing diversity and inclusion chief amid racism row caused by Meghan and Harry's interview, says reports. And I'm going to call it what I always call this stuff. It's white people solutions. That's what white people do. They make committees and groups and all that stuff. Nothing ever gets done. Nothing ever gets any better. But they try to make it look good on the surface. Nothing changes, though. Let's see. And then one other headline here. Miami Beach extends state of emergency, curfew, and road closures for 3 weeks as police struggle to contain wild parties. So they can't even contain the partying for spring break. Yeah, I don't think any hint of any type of a lockdown is going to remotely do anything because people are done. I think people in this country, they're done. And as we see in other nations, the United States, when it comes to civil disobedience, it tends to lag behind quite a bit. And I think we've reached that point, though. Here's the thing. Although we tend to lag behind in civil disobedience, I think when it comes to this whole lockdown stuff, I think we're going to outdo the other countries. I really do, because American people are done and tired of it. And even though, the disobedience has been going on for so much longer in these other countries are a little more used to more restrictions than what United States citizens are. So, the U.S. citizens are going to want all their freedom back. Not part of it, but all of it. And I think that the civil disobedience that we experience here in this country is going to be much more escalated than what we saw, or continue to see, I should say, in other nations. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. That is a hell of a lot of headlines, and I'm ready for bed already. So I hope you all have a great night. Tomorrow we will be exclusively back on Patreon, so I know it's mid-month. I would ask you to consider at least at the beginning of next month to come on over there to where we do this, Sunday night through Thursday night, every night live. And we have a lot of good discussions over there, so please consider it. Anyway, I hope you have a great night. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.